Aloha, beloveds. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm uh, joining you from my vehicle. I really appreciate having a vehicle in which I can take space and download and sleep when I'm traveling. And yeah, it's a real blessing. I know a lot of folks actually stay in their vehicle full time, and it's a really interesting lifestyle. I do have a place as well to be domicile, but it feels real good to have my truck as well. Yeah, I just finished a really intense workout at the gym. I've been working out 4 days a week, lifting weights and working out on the elliptical to get my cardiovascular health improved again, to a higher level of optimal health. I used to be a marathon runner, and so my cardiovascular system was uh, pretty honed. And yeah, I've kind of over COVID, I think a lot of us like sort of just went more internal. And so I'm getting my body back online and feel really good about that. I held space for our first Dream Circle activation last night here in Ashland, Oregon, and it was really potent and beautiful. And the sisters and the brothers came and weaved together their dream space and shared. And a shared drumming session, shamanic drumming session to help folks get into that theta brainwave state, that trance state. Sort of a hypnotic state, so you can relax in your parasympathetic nervous system and vision and just see where you are mentally, more so than in a normal state of being, which is many of us are living in a state of fight or flight constantly. Yeah, I'd really love to speak to how that's unfolding on a consistent basis, because it's super fascinating to me. And I'm learning so much about myself and about dream weaving and about dreams. Last night, I had a potent dream where my grandfather came to visit me. And I was with my lover in the dream. And the night before, I actually had a very potent dream with a medicine brother that I work with, and also with a lost boy. Looking for this lost boy was the theme of the dream the night before last. And so, the divine masculine, the sacred masculine, has really been in my awareness, really been on my mind, really been on my heart. There's in the community that I live in, and the circles in which I congregate in, there's much focus on the goddess and talking about women's issues and the womb and the yoni worship and bleeding and moon time. And I love all that. I definitely feel very called to that work and focus as well. And I do hold regular women's circles in which we dive into those themes. And I am a womb carrier, so it's very personal to me. And I have daughters, and yeah, it's very personal to me. I also have sons. I've given birth to sons, and I recently, my daughter gave birth to my first grandson. And so men are very important to me. Currently have a beloved male partner, and I've had many partners. I've been in a marriage, deep partnerships with men. And I love men. I love men. I love the divine masculine. I love men's anatomy. I love the lingam. I'm definitely a lingam worshiper. There's much talk about yoni worship. I worship the lingam too. I feel like it's very important that we give honor to the male form, the male physique, the male energy, the male embodiment. Yeah, it's so beautiful, so powerful. So we need to give honor and respect and worship the divine masculine. So I'm finding ways to do that in my own life. What I want to talk about today is controversial, and it's super emotional for me, very triggering for me. As a mother, I've given birth to three male-bodied beings, and at that time, first child I had, my first son, I was 19 years old, just turned 19 years old, and very much influenced by the Western allopathic medical system and by my family and by the religion that I was following at the time, which was Christianity. And I made the decision to circumcise my boys, and it was so gut wrenching. It was so hard. I remember even being 19 and my son being so small and vulnerable. That it was such a painstaking. I didn't want to do it. I tried to defend my decision to not allow that to happen, and I was given so much pressure and even bullying from my father and from my husband at the time. And the reasoning was that, well, he'll look different from us, or that's just what you do, or he'll be more clean. It's harder to take care of an uncircumcised penis. Yeah, the main thing was just like basically conform to what happened to us and do it again. And so it's this generational ancestral trauma. Literally, we are mutilating boys, baby boys. We're literally mutilating boys, and there's no consent. There's absolutely no consent, and it just horrifies me to think now that I made that decision. And something happened recently in my family that brought that back to my awareness. How it's important that we take care of these little ones. We protect the boys. And I've talked to many sexual partners about what it's like to be circumcised, and all of them wish that they hadn't been. All of them wish that they hadn't been, because they feel like a part of them has been lost. And I think that's part of what that dream was the other day that I had about the lost boy. And yeah, I just want to speak to that, plant that seed. If there's mothers out there or fathers out there who are giving birth to a boy soon, and they're feeling conflicted about what they should do because they're feeling pressured by their community or their religion or their family or whatever it may be, the culture at large, I would just ask you to consider why. Why are you doing this? Why are you taking a very sensitive, beautiful part of your baby boy away from him without his consent, and mutilating him? You can't get that back. You can't get that back. And I believe it causes very deep trauma right from birth. And I feel that this is something that's in men who've been circumcised. I've heard from men who've been circumcised that they have a deep wounding around it. And I think it's something we need to talk about. And I'm talking about it as a mother because it's important. I gave birth to boys. I made that decision not knowing, and feeling super conflicted even then, even before I really understood the ramifications of what was happening like I do now. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong. I knew in my heart, and I should have trusted my heart, and I should have defended my children, and I should have stood up for them. And I feel a lot of grief around that. I feel a lot of grief. And I know that a lot of women do, and a lot of men do, And so I'm calling upon the brothers to create space to talk about these things, to talk about this subject in particular, because I think it's very deeply personal. It's related to men's sexuality, their self-worth. Um, it's related to how safe they feel in the world. Can you imagine, being violated like that right from birth? How that would affect your whole life, not feeling safe in the world. Immediately you come into the world and you're being given injections, and your sacred male lingam is being cut, and oh gosh, it was just, I just remember like having to take care of my son's penises after that violation. And it's just terrible. It's just terrible. If you've never experienced that, I'm so glad, because it was very, very traumatic and very hard and terrible, honestly horrifying. And yeah, I'd like to talk about this more. I just want to bring this out of me because it's just festering in me, and I feel a lot of anger and upsetness over it. And I feel like part of the reason why I just had this big workout to release the energy around it, because it's really up for me right now, and I want to give honor to it. I want to speak to it. And I felt like, normally I go out in nature and make my videos, but I just was feeling really inspired to talk about it right now, because it's like burning. It's like a hot coal on my heart, and I need to tend to that. I need to release it. And yeah, please feel free. I know this is a sensitive subject. I know there's a lot of heat around it. I know there's a lot of religious dogma around it. I know that there's a lot there that's going to maybe upset people or shed light on something that creates uncomfortability. But I feel like that's part of what I'm meant to do. You know, I'm not here necessarily to continue. You know, I do that. I encourage. I speak to love, and I talk about high vibrational ways of relating to life and to oneself. But I also feel like, you know, part of my path is to be a warrior, and that means, you know, speaking up for the innocent, you know, protecting the little ones. And yeah, please, 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 if someone's listening to this and you feel inspired to comment or contact me and have a conversation with me, please do so. I'm happy to receive whatever wants to come through. I yeah, it's an important thing that we need to address, and it's hidden and it's shoved down and it's put in the corner and it's relegated to those dark areas, because we don't want to look at it necessarily, but we need to look at these things like this. We need to look at this. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're a lingam carrier, if you have a penis and you want to talk about this, please, please do so. Please start a men's circle. Use your voice. Talk about what it's like for you. Talk about how angry you are. Let that energy out so it doesn't sit there and fester in your body, you know, because that's what happens. And it creates disease, and it creates anger, and it creates resentment, and it creates a whole host of things, addictions, and just like body dysmorphia and all sorts of things that could be avoided if we, you know, if you were circumcised, you know, talk about it. What was it like how do you feel about that right now? Like, we need to hear the men's voices right now, and I really encourage men to use your voice. If you're a male body being and you'd love to talk to me about this, I'd love to hold space for you. I feel very passionate about holding space for men. That's a lot of the work that I do in the world, for my own children and for men in my life, and in the work that I do in the cuddle realm. And yeah, it's definitely something we need to continue to speak to and digest and process and integrate and change, you know, really change and shed light on this. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you listening with an open heart, and hearing where I am, and having compassion and empathy for those that are affected by this subject, and allowing me to speak from the heart of a mother who feels like I've been a perpetrator in this ongoing atrocity, essentially. Yeah. So bless you, bless all the men, bless all those baby boys that are being born right now, and pray protection for their bodies, their sweet bodies, and their hearts and their minds. And yeah, may this change in the world. May swift change come about, and may we respect and honor the divine masculine, the male energy embodied in masculine form, and those male bodied beings that carry lingams be protected and remain intact, remain whole. So thank you so much for listening. Mahalo.